Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bill and Ray Show. I'm out in the torch shop making another marble. Thanks for stopping by. We're going to dig into marble construction today, and we're going to use a little tool, simple little pokey tool, and that's going to make some interior design, I hope. So first we need to do a little prep work. Fire it up here. Going to make just a little bit of a flat cane piece. And I'm going to use some experimental green. This green, you can only use very small amounts of it inside the marble, or it tends to check and crack. So it's a little dicey to use this stuff, but we're going to give it a go. So I hope everyone's doing well today. Whatever day this is you happen to watch this video. I really appreciate you guys spending some time hanging out with us. I'm just going to flatten a little section of some rod here. I'm actually going to draw it on the other side just because it might be a little better. So I'm just going to try and cover this kind of a thin layer of this experimental green. Yeah, then we're going to flatten that down. I've got a little bit more of this Neptunium, so I'm going to put just a little bit of that in here to be part of the mix. A little bit goes a long way. Just tiny, tiny bits of this glass. Flatten this down. And then we're going to do a little gold fume effect on here. See if I can get some gold fume to behave. Okay. I need to build up a little clear over that. Start off on this edge to make sure we seal that edge in. Just going to push that clear glass into the last pass. Make sure it's all sealed up in there. Yeah, we'll build up a little bit more clear after we get this situated. Sometimes kind of difficult to make just a very small amount of something prep like this, and I wind up with tons of random pieces that are leftovers, and I don't really even always know what they are, so it's kind of hesitant to really make use of them. But you wind up with a lot of material that you could use for pendants or ornaments or something random. Okay. Now, this little chunky guy will get a handle on here. And cut this starter rod, cut it off. Okay, let's get a handle on here. And get this little piece warmed up and start a little gentle twist to it. Switch hands. Use the little skinny rod on the left hand side where I'm going to pull it out. Kind of aggressively twisting this pretty fast and hard. This is not going to need to be anything real pretty on its own. It's going to hopefully get disturbed with the process of using my little pokey rod, little skewer stick to push this around. So, not sure what that's going to do, but That's going to be part of our interior. I want to build up kind of a complex interior. So that should be, let's see, that'll be for this. Get this out of the way. Okay, I think I got, well, we'll see. I think I got all the prep work done. So we'll get going on the main construction piece here. So I'm kind of trying to settle into my torch bench here. I replaced the desktop computer that I'm using to record these videos, and it didn't take too terribly long, but it was nice. I had the old computer basically completely set up over on the other bench, and the new computer, because I'm trying to get all the settings that I had worked through for the audio and visual, and the camera setups and all the little tweaks I did for the different scenes and so on. So trying to get that all transferred to a new box, new to me. I got it refurbed off eBay. Didn't pay a lot of money for it, but it is an upgrade to the system I had here before. Doesn't really affect what I'm doing right now. It's not allowing me to do anything better or more amazing with my recording, but kind of a little bit of future proofing, because the world of computers is going crazy right now. DRAM has gone up 400% over the last year. Just in the last few months, it's gone way up. So, just trying to get ahead of the game. Got my favorite marble mug here with our dragon logos. Ray did all that artwork. So I'm just trying to build up an initial gather. This is kind of going to be the classic. I'm going to build up a ball and then shape it into our cone for our vortex interior, and then start building up some layers. So I'll take the opportunity to bring up our Epicwater filters that we're connected with now. We've got a link in the description below to check out where you can order these water filters. We've got the pitcher right now in the house in the refrigerator, and these are a really nice, well-designed water filter. I know there's a lot of them out there on the market, but this company they're doing a really good job making a quality product and trying to be eco-friendly, recycling the filters, and they last typically 3 or 4 months before you have to replace the filter element. So you get a lot of filtered water for that price of that filter, the filter cartridge itself. And even where we are, we've got good Rocky Mountain well water, but there is a concern about arsenic levels, and then they want to know what's going on up the hills above us that might potentially contaminate our well water. So it's kind of a nice assurance that you can avoid some of those modern day toxicity issues. So we got the technology now to filter a lot of that stuff out, so why not? Okay, we've got a fairly clean gather going on here. Let this settle down a moment. Then we're going to try and get this cone shape started. We're holding this up at a elevated, letting it drop down, trying to kind of draw that cone shape out. Now, on the graphite surface I got down below the torch here, I've got some silver little filings, little particles of silver laid out. And we're going to pick up some of that silver. Let's see which hand I want to do this to. You can see these little particles down here. I don't really want to lose the leftovers here, so we'll set this aside. Now before we mess with that silver too much, we're going to add this cane we just did. Okay, we'll probably do a couple passes on that. And you just kind of follow along with that first layer, first row. Now, because I have so much of this prep cane made up, I'll probably add another layer, even though it's kind of probably a bit too much. Kind of like I say, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it if I don't use it up here, so I'll use some more of it here. And instead of stretching it out, we'll get it down with a little bit more concentration. Any kind of cane like this, you can pile it up to make it tighter and denser, or you can drag it out, make it thinner and looser. Anyway, that's what we got so far. Pull it end out a little. Okay, what's next? We want some layers here, so we're going to put some frit on here. We start with a little bit of blue-green. Oops. Be careful, don't touch that pipe in the front of the red max. That thing's hot. I do remember one thing in my prep setup that I didn't do. I have to do something on the fly here. Okay. A little blue-green. Okay, the other one I want to do is some blue spruce. Don't often do this kind of mixture of frit. That's all we need to do with that. Got to make sure I dump it in the right jar. Okay. Well, we've got a bunch of different effect layers already. Now this next phase, I'm going to use this tool. It's just a piece of stainless steel 16th inch rod, sharpened on the tip. Drilled a little hole in a piece of dowel. Stuck it in there. And I've got some beeswax here if I need it. So the idea here, try and heat up a spot, a little bit more flame than that. And poke it in there. With this little skinny rod, I'm able to poke down inside there quite a ways. You kind of need that base heat. In order to get a deeper plunge. A little bit of that beeswax to help. So I was kind of pushing up on that row. I'm going to try kind of pushing down the other way up here. Okay, we'll heat this up. Alright, got a bunch of spiky patterns in there. Doing a lot of little minor, lesser pokes. Just trying to get a textured effect on the inside and kind of have a chance for those colors to mix up a little bit. kind of a medieval torture chamber in there at this point. Okay, trying to get this to kind of heal up naturally. Okay, for the next step, I'm going to have to step away for a second, see if I can find the glass that I want. Okay, we're back. I'm going to reheat my piece a little bit here. I think I'm going to need that. I found some cobalt that I had already pulled out. Give it a tug on this end. Okay. See if we can lay down a backing separation layer. This kind of defines the innie from the outie. Most typically, the way I do these marbles, I wind up with one view from the inside and a different view from the outside. I kind of started using kind of fat stringers like this for this layer. Try to add a layer of color or black or whatever barrier, opaque barrier, without adding a lot of bulk to the glass, to the marble overall. And some of my recent videos have kind of went against that and just went ahead and used full strength rods and built it up a little differently. And also using the stringer helps kind of at this end where it has a tendency to overheat and change shape and do all kinds of things that you may or may not really be wanting to do. So then I'll come back into the groove that I left. Applying a little bit of pressure to kind of push into that groove. Yeah, I meant to pull out this stringer, but as it turned out, I had quite a bit of it already pulled out. I try and think through all the steps that I'm going to do before I start rolling the video, but not always perfect. Okay, that should be good. Yeah, I get to peek a little bit inside there. It's looking pretty cool. Okay, get that out of the way. I think I'm going to try and roll with some gold on the back side here because Cobalt loves gold. Let this warm up kind of gently right on the side of the flame and then bring it in right into those candles. They're just kind of sitting on one candle. All right, now we're going to build up from a cone to a circle. I really appreciate anybody that's hanging in there watching these videos. Hopefully you get some ideas. I get to document, record what I do so I can kind of go back and review the steps I took and what happened. It kind of helps my process, but it also gives me an opportunity to share something with the community or anybody that's into the glass work. We're kind of continuing to have some pretty mild weather in January in Montana 2026. People always want to know what's it normally like? Is this normal? It's like nothing's normal anymore. That probably is true for a lot of places in the world. But I would expect it to be a bit colder than it is. And most of the moisture we've had so far through this winter season has been rain. We've had very tiny traces of snow, really, just bare coverings, and it's gone soon after. But there's still plenty of snow season coming up the next couple months. So the good thing is we're getting moisture, and it's also kind of good because we don't have to worry so much about clearing snow, but I kind of miss it too. Kind of miss the challenge of getting out there and dealing with a whole bunch of snow. Okay, we come up here to the edge, and now we want to bring our clear right up along the color line, but try not to go over it. Okay, then we're going to use some big flame to melt that layer in, but also to start kind of shaping things up or push it away from this, what I call the circumference. So pushing it outwards, so it doesn't need to be thick there. And come back here to the tip and push that glass back away from the very end of the color. You can see where that color is sticking out, a little bright spot on the very tip. Okay, one more big thermal cycle for the interior as well. As the marble gets bigger, you can't really heat that interior all that intensely. You'd have a puddle on your hands if you did. Yeah, so the succession of computers in my life, so the computer that was here in the torch shop will go out to my telescope, and it'll be an upgrade from the computer that's out at the telescope. But that means a whole nother bunch of software to configure to run my astrophotography routines. It's kind of a whole nother project. So the torch shop has become the computer shop here for a few days. Meantime, in the household, there's a new laptop. It was on sale, great deals going on, and working on a new website, working on some family history. We've got plenty of things keeping us busy these days. But it's nice to just kind of sit at the torch and do some familiar work and put together some combinations of colors and techniques and effects. I've done variations of using the florist frog or different things to push into the interior, including basically what I just did, but it's always different. So the idea with pushing in through a bunch of layers of different colors and so on is hopefully you get to sort of expose some of those layers on the interior that otherwise would just be completely covered over. So we'll see. I don't know how well this is going to turn out. I just know that I followed the steps that I was hoping to accomplish, and we'll see. When I'm making marbles like this, I have to wait till the next day to find out what happened. Even if I can look at it to some degree while it's at the torch, it's never the same as looking at it and holding it in the light the next day. And so often is the case, I have ideas of what I think I'm trying to do, and what turns out is something different. So there's the temptation to be disappointed and think, well, that's not what I wanted. But it is something. So 32 years of playing around with glass, and I still can learn things every time I sit down at the torch. Alright, there's enough glass there. Now we just need to melt. Get that glass on the very end to pull out. And kind of draw that point at the end of the vortex out. And then after drawing that end out, we kind of reverse gears and get it to pull back in. Okay, let that settle down for a minute. And we have our backside color. Pretty simple today, some Silver Strike 5, some jet black, and Unobtanium. I can lift my shades on this color. This is a lot of different little sections that I've fused together in this stringer. And this is kind of a good application to use up some kind of funky stringer. It doesn't really matter too much. Kind of gets blended into the pattern. I'm going to do some jet black. This is kind of interesting in this, using a stringer like this and this process. This jet black is pretty intense, but it'll thin out to where it'll be somewhat translucent, and it'll pick up that gold fume on the layer underneath. So even though these are opaque colors, in this design that I do, there's a little space in between the colors in some places, and then the colors themselves are pretty thin. So sometimes you actually see quite a bit of reflection off that gold fume. Sometimes I put down the colors so tight, or whatever, the stringers are fat enough that they'll obscure pretty much totally what's underneath. But these days I kind of prefer the happy medium of being able to see through it to some degree. Oh, this is thirsty business. So before we go raking these colors, we want them really well melted in. I think this is one step that I can sometimes kind of try and rush through. A lot of things in this kind of glasswork just take some time. That's one reason I'm doing these in the full take. Because if I go into raking it too soon, it'll be all lopsided. Generally, it's a bit lopsided by the time I'm done anyway, but you need it to get stable so it stays on center more or less. But you can't wait too long or you won't get the right heat balance to do the raking. Okay, so we can do this. Tatsy. So kind of do one pass around the wide end and then try and run this from the tip, bring it up and drag into the colors above. At the end, try and draw this out just a bit. Try and kind of clean up that swirly glass on the very end. And then we'll just kind of tap that in. And then as I generally have a few, especially when I start out, I wind up with a few little tears. Okay, looking good. Okay, so I'm back away from the flame. I tend to get crowded up kind of close to it. It's kind of hot. Had to warm up the shop this morning, but always gets to some point where it's kind of been overshooting the temperature. Or the temperature that's comfortable, I should say. First little introduction to the marble mold. Some steps in glass blowing, it's kind of like coming in from the sunlight outside. Your eyes adjust to the bright light, and then the brightness goes away, and it takes a minute to see what's going on here. And burn out the excess fume that spills over onto the lens side. So even though I go through at the end and try and skim off that outer layer, some of that gets kind of buried in the glass at this, right at this phase. And you get the final result. You can see some little wrinkles in the glass on the interior. The surface is smooth, but there's some little bands inside the glass that are artifacts of the process. And if our punchy seems a little funky, we can always heat up the end and get it softened up and see if we can relocate our axis. So because I'm going to tear some of this glass off at this stage, I'm going to go for this acorn look. Well, so far so good. I hope this recording works the way it's supposed to. New computer. If it doesn't, I guess tomorrow I'll have to try again. Dicey taking a hand off of the glass there, but have to kind of keep rotating. Okay. I talk a lot about the spillover of excess fuming, but actually a lot of the colors, because of the metal content they have, they will actually cause some kind of fuming of their own. Some people actually fume with some of the colored rods. Okay, keep skimming some glass off. Well, it's kind of satisfying to be out here in the torch shop, just doing some real work. It's not computer generated. It's not manufactured by a robot. Created with the human touch, with human failings. We all have our flaws. This is looking pretty good. It's coming together. Now it's pretty much just up to shaping it up. Start off by bringing this lens from kind of a cone head down to a circle. Give it a spin. That was hot. Tootsie. We can also use the L marver up here on the torch to not make a fold in it like it was starting to do. And sometimes you see little bright spots. That's probably some little speck of something that shouldn't be there. So we got kind of an egg shape here. Trying to use some heat rotational gravity to kind of pull that together. debating taking some clear off that lens, but I'll refrain from messing with that. Most often when I think the lens has way too much glass on it at the end of the day, end of the marble, the end of the process, it's not really that way. Now this step right here is time consuming. It just takes a long time to get the heat all the way through the color. I suppose even the gold fuming layer, the gold is reflecting out some of that heat, trying to get into the core. Just gotta have patience and trust that you sit in the fire long enough, it's going to get soft. This may take a lot longer than you think because it's much slower working than with clear glass. So we'll just kind of keep it aimed up. I like to use some fast rotation. That seems to transform the shape. In a nice way that doesn't involve the tooling effects. Yeah, just that little tiny bit of that Neptunium, I think I'm saying that right, it brings some shimmer to the interior. Okay, I'm going to use a little pressure in this mold and squeeze those ends together a little. Now it doesn't look like the lens is too big. few wrinkles there, but it'll all smooth out. Getting close. Start looking at the, well, I've been looking at the reflections for a while, but start really scrutinizing the reflection around that circumference, and you can see that it's not quite right yet. Definitely some controlled chaos at this phase. We're really struggling to keep the puntee aligned in some fashion. We really need the majority of this marble to be pretty warm so it moves. I think we got it pretty good there, so now we just need to do some touch-up. And smooth out any little wrinkles, and we do a flame polish. And we'll leave that back side alone. So we really need it to lose some heat now. We're getting close. Our last puntee attachment. Then cut that one loose. And you don't just melt that little blob in. You want to get rid of that. It's a bunch of, at this point, kind of dissimilar glass, and there's a bit of a mess anywhere there's an attachment like that. Okay, clear glass is a lot easier to shape. Doesn't take so much effort. Now wait a moment and bring it in on the back side. Very gently, keep rotating. And that should be a pretty good lens. There's a lot of times reflections and different things going on internally. You have to really disassociate from any of that and just focus on the surface. It's looking pretty good. Well, I did the steps I wanted to do. I don't know what the result's going to be looking like. But I'm very grateful for anyone that hangs in there and watches these videos. Curious what you all think about this. One more little pass for good measure. Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good morning. Coming up on noon. Need to run to town, do a couple errands. Be anxious to see what this looks like tomorrow morning. I'm trying to wait till it isn't going to make a mark when it goes into the tooling. Okay, pop the punty off and then polish this end up. Again, it's another one of those steps where I'm looking at the reflection of the lights as I move around so I can see that I cleaned up the end. And there we go. Sunshine outside. Yeah, some cool beans. Well, I hope it all survives without any checking or issues. We'll see. Shouldn't be too much of that green. We used very little of that experimental green, so hopefully it will develop. It kind of goes through a process of healing. And there we go. Thanks you all so much for hanging out. Hope you all enjoy your day. Have a good time. Be kind to others. Take care of yourselves. Take care of all your friends and family and co-workers, whoever you meet. And we'll see you again on another adventure next week, hopefully. Take care, guys.